have a document in front of you called Perfecting the Follow-Up Procedures. And you don't need to open it yet, but I'll tell you when. Okay, so basically, and again, this is all the stuff I built when I was running companies. It's all about having as many standard procedures as you can have and setting that bar. Setting that bar higher and higher and higher of what the minimum acceptable performance of your staff is going to be. And particularly in a B2C play, to have really good follow-up procedures that are institutionalized, that you don't have to worry about what anybody's going to do. But B2B, you might need a lot more structuring. So this covers both. So I'm going to give you 10 standard follow-up procedures for bonding with clients. And we're going to talk about why does follow-up make the difference between mediocrity and greatness. I think you could already teach me that. Step-by-step guide, and then the ultimate objective of every top producer. So studies show, by the way, when a driver sees a police car on the side of the road, they slow down for how long? 10 minutes, less than a mile, next 5 miles. Less than a mile, like less than 60 seconds. Okay, the moral to the story is called the cool-off factor. People have very short memories. And today, with the clutter factor being what it is, there's so much going on in our lives that if you touch down with someone and then you don't touch them again and again and again real fast as you can and as often as you can, they forget you. You lose top of mind, and that's what you want to try and stay in someone's top of mind. This is the 7th step to every sale, which is follow-up, which we covered. Most companies are weak at follow-up. They think their job is finished once the sale is made, so we kind of are depicting that here. Yeah, thanks. Really got the sale, okay? You don't want to be that guy. Great companies know that they have just begun when the sale is closed. So the world we live in today, all of us are bombarded with commercial clutter. When you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So your mission is to not let the client cool off, right? What's the cool-off factor? Enthusiasm is contagious. When you're with the prospect, your enthusiasm rubs off. The second you leave, the prospect begins to cool down. Your job is to keep that prospect hot with 2 things. What 2 things? Day 1, day 2, day 3. This goes from, yeah, that was great, to who's that guy? 2 main things you want to try and keep them. Again, B2B, there's 2 things. B2C, it's at least 1 thing. It's you and the sale, meaning that if I'm a salesperson and I'm selling B2B, then I want to make sure I keep them hot on me as well as whatever it is I'm selling. All right? So it's twofold. Versus a B2C play, you keep them hot on what they bought, okay, and on doing more. So if you made a good impression and began the bonding process, you must keep those cards and letters coming. Follow-up is even more critical if you didn't bond, right? Remember, trust and respect are the largest part of the sale. Every minute that the prospect doesn't hear from you after you leave their office, their respect falls off. Just literally, if it takes 5 days to follow up, you're like out of sight, out of mind completely. You won't even notice the follow-up. If the follow-up comes within the hour or within 24 hours, it's going to have more impact. Prospect will soon forget the core reasons why they were persuaded. Putting the hot buttons in your follow-up letter reduces your cool-off factor. So trust and respect equals influence. Influence equals potential for control over that situation. More market share at every mutually beneficial opportunity. Great companies know every aspect of their client's criteria for making a decision to purchase. The deeper your understanding, the better the opportunity, the more market share. So the ultimate goal is to have your client looking forward to your contact. I mean, that would be the ultimate goal. You have such a good relationship that when they see something from you, they're like, oh, this is from XYZ company. Wow, cool, because this is going to be cool, interesting, fun. So what can you do to make sure that you're having a really good, you must become such a bright spot in your client's day that they actually look forward to your call, your letters, your emails, because they're exciting and interesting. You must become part of their life. How do you become part of your client's life? How do you stay at their top of mind? Okay? Massive, diligent, and constant follow-up. Okay? And entertaining. Anytime you can be entertaining, it's going to really help keep that bonding process. Make the relationship fun and entertaining. Cards, letters, games, jokes, gifts, all these kinds of things in your follow-up can really make a difference. And in GMK1, we taught about that website, what's it called? orientaltrading.com. You can go on there and buy, 2,600 plastic dinosaurs for 20 bucks. And send out 2,000 plastic dinosaurs with some clever little tie to you and why dinosaurs couldn't, do what you do or whatever. In fact, there's a killer section where we take you through, working through, and I list, 20 different items and how cheap they are, and then what you could send along with it. And it's so like a workshop where you work through headlines and concepts and ideas, and I give you lots of ideas. So that's in GMK1. That's what I'm saying. You guys got a massive data dump here. If you haven't studied GMK1, you kind of go back to your office and go, oh, I can't go there. Trust me, go there, okay? B2C applications. So for business-to-consumer companies, you need to have a constant touch system to keep the relationship strong. With the internet, this can be free to inexpensive. It might cost you a little bit to design it, but remember that the one who helps the client succeed cannot keep it from themselves. So education is really great. Can you send that is of value to them, tips, insights, ideas, something fun or funny? And again, I'm just trying to say that part of the process is bonding, and so you want to try and be entertaining. Remember that great follow-up increases your bond and your referrals. So rule number one, your follow-up is only as good as your first 6 steps, right? So let's review them. What personal tidbits or professional goals did you note during the meeting? We talked about that. Now I'll show you how that helps you in the follow-up process, right? Do you understand their needs and their objectives? Step number 2. Value. What can you give them they will consider valuable? You should have learned that. Create desire. What can you do that will increase their desire to have what it is that you sell? Objections. Make sure you address them if they came up or if there were any. Or if you know in advance there's going to be some, bring them up, cover them. They go in your core story in advance. Close. What closed them? What was the thing that made them go, ooh, I bought, And again, for B2B, you're going to have more detail here than for B2C. Does that make sense? B2C, you're not going to necessarily get all deep because you can't if you deal with thousands of people at a time. The better you did on steps 1 through 6, the more penetrating your follow-up will be. So your client sees you and 4 competitors. This is a great story. I had a advertising agency, and one of my clients was a magazine. And so what we did is I saw a bunch of other magazines and had the sales guy come in and do a pitch on the magazine. Meanwhile, I'm representing one of their competitors. But I had the advertising agency, so it was a great way to do it. So the first guy comes in, talks all about his magazine. Second guy comes in, talks all about his magazine. Third guy comes in, talks all about his magazine. Fourth guy comes in, talks all about the magazine. So you come in, you ask a lot of questions, you learn the client's entire decision-making criteria, and then you learn quite a few things about the client. So which person is going to be able to have a better follow-up letter? Okay, so because what happened here is not one of these guys, now I get their follow-up letters, start off, thank you for the meeting, and then right into pitching the magazine because they can't address me at all. I couldn't believe it, actually. I was shocked because, I ran magazines, and you can bet my salespeople were highly trained to drill the heck out of the prospects. These guys come in, pitch the magazine, and leave, never ask me a single question. Like what the client is, and again, as an advertising agency, you don't always tell them who the client is, but nobody asked me, and I was prepared with this whole elaborate tale. Nobody asked me. It was great. I was amazed. So who has the best opportunity for follow-up? Which follow-up letter has the best potential to be more interesting to the client? Obviously, this fella, or you. Okay, so step 1, get a letter off to your client within an hour or 2 of the meeting. If you can get a letter off, and again, for B2C, you get an email off, the faster it can go out, the more the bond is starting to create. So go to this worksheet, because it lays it out here, and for some reason it's on the back of the first page. At least on mine it is. I would probably prefer it not to be that way. This is what is the most perfect first follow-up after a client interaction or sale is made. Right now, design what you're going to do as a follow-up step number 1. So that's where we're at. Now again, if you're B2C, your follow-up may be different than B2B. If it's a letter or an email, what is the ideal structure? So I'm going to give you that now. Let's talk a little bit about consumer and email follow-up. Most of you witnessed an amazing follow-up in getting you into this program. Let's review. When we first acquired your email address, we sent you a series of reports, free videos, and testimonials, all coming every few days. If you got this program through a webinar from one of our radio ads, you were called and reminded to attend. Then, when you invested in the BGM program, you were sent a confirmation of your purchase, and then a coach sent you an email to welcome you to our world. If you didn't respond to the email, a coach then called you to set your first coaching session. And if you didn't respond to that, they called you again, and then if you don't respond to 4 or 5 inquiries from your coach, the head coach gets involved to make sure that you're getting every opportunity to maximize your growth curve from this program. There are about 15 follow-up procedures in place in just the first part of our relationship with you. And I've had my hands on every single one of them. So, what's your follow-up look like? Today with the internet and the email, it can be cheap or free. And it can be programmed to be completely automatic, so you have no excuse. You should have superb follow-up systems in place for everything in your company. In this module, I stress B2B follow-up, which can be more hardy and robust. For example, when I sold advertising, the smallest sale I was going to make was about $10,000. So in that case, you can afford to take people hot air ballooning and invite them to your house for dinner and be maybe a lot more elaborate than you're going to be if someone's buying a $49 item at your retail store. But either way, you should have fantastic follow-up. If you're B2C, take advantage of the suggested workshops to stop and work on your follow-up systems. So I'm going to stop the video for about 10 different places throughout this entire workshop, and I want you to stop and work on what kind of follow-up procedures you could do if you're not B2B and can't use the exact suggestions we provide. Okay, I want you to do your first workshop, and then it's back to the live event. What's your first follow-up going to be? Design it right now. The letter, let me give you great structure. So the letter starts with something personal. That was a great story you told about your daughter in our meeting. I have a similar story to tell you. So that's alluding. In our next meeting, I have a similar story to tell you. A compliment. You certainly seem to have a great grasp. So these should be writing down here. Number 1, something personal. Number 2, a compliment. You certainly seem to have a great grasp on how to make your company succeed. They're lucky to have you. Again, I'm making up stuff here, but you can imagine if I met with you and we had a great meeting, you'd get this killer follow-up letter, and I'd hone in right on something about you that you knew was true, and it would be very complimentary, and you would feel like, wow, this guy really gets me, okay? Hot buttons. With the challenge you face, it seems clear that 6 of our machines are exactly what you need. You will reduce costs, speed up productivity, and most importantly, relieve a lot of stress for quite a few people. I'm checking on how fast we can move on this one, okay? And this is highly benefit-oriented. So under hot buttons, it should also be benefit-oriented, okay? And then a personal close, focus on them. Once again, it was a great meeting you. I have a few ideas about other productivity issues that I know you will like. Okay, here's a bad follow-up letter. Dear Joe, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. We already covered that one, right? But how many of you, before learning this, would go out there and start your follow-up letter exactly that way? Don't do it, okay? This belittles you, okay? Most sales letters are focused on the seller, not the buyer. Our machines are great. With our strength, we have become great. We're great, okay? Don't be a salesperson, be a confident. I really want your business, and I'm willing to work hard to get it. Is that building rapport or breaking rapport? Okay, focus on the customer, build rapport. You won't regret buying from us. I will call you soon to sell you more. I mean, seriously, most follow-up letters are just terrible, terrible, terrible. So what's wrong with this follow-up letter? Never apologize for taking their time. Once you apologize for taking your time, you diminish anything you have to say. Does that make sense? Okay? You must feel that your time is also valuable, and they are lucky to be meeting with you. And if you've got a great core story, too, they will be lucky to be meeting with you because you're going to teach them some stuff. However, don't put the emphasis on yourself and your products or services. If you look at that other letter, it was all focused on them except one line about how we're going to help him get these machines and all his needs. Endear yourself to the client. Get personal. Great follow-up letters have some kind of personal touch. Okay, so here's a couple more steps. Focus on them, not on you. If B2B, you had the interaction, you can begin with personal observation or connection. If B2C, this needs to be procedurized, can begin with congratulations, you've just done something smart, What was it? Next to compliment, hot buttons, reiterate why they bought, state next steps if applicable, personal close, focus on them. Okay. Follow-up call. That's a really, after that letter, boom, the call comes right away. Follow-up call should offer something of value, something that doesn't necessarily have to benefit you directly. Again, what we're trying to do here is bond with our buyers. So that follow-up call doesn't necessarily have to try and sell something. It should just be continue that bonding process. Again, critical for B2B. Critical. For B2C, it could be some kind of a reminder call, but that's your next step. Okay? If you had a good meeting, you should now be working your way onto their staff. Again, B2B, that's how I was always top producer. I would work my way right on to I was such a valued advisor to them. It was like I was one of their staff people. Let's call Chet and get his input on this one, So I had total control of my accounts. I never lost an account to a competitor. If you had a bad meeting, monster follow-up is your only hope. And I gave you some examples of where I had bad experiences with clients and I had massive follow-up and built so much credibility with the client that they followed me into yet another crazy scheme that worked out really well, thank God. For B2C, what would your next call be? What's your next offer? So right now, let's flesh it out. Here it is on your worksheet on page 3. Now we're ready for your second follow-up. What are some ideas you have? Plan it right now. What are you going to call? What are you going to offer? Hello, Jim. I thought more about your challenges, and I think I may have a great idea for you. So what's your second follow-up going to be? Let's plan it right now. Okay, step 3. Something amusing is a great follow-up, a personal interest. This is funny. It says, and as amoebas, you will have no problem recruiting other sales reps. Just keep dividing and selling, dividing and selling. So, and I recommend for everybody, man, get the Far Side, 365-day calendar, and about every maybe 20th one is really funny. And just use they're going to come after me now, Larson and his gang, but I'm selling more Far Side calendars for you, Mr. Larson. So, but, they have some really funny ones. And when I was in sales as a sales rep, I would take a funny joke and I would sit and hand write notes to all 48 or 97 of my clients. And each client would get it, be a little laugh-o from Chet. So you never know what you're going to get from me. So it's kind of like, well, this could be interesting. And again, B2C, same thing. If you never know what you're going to get, and sometimes it just doesn't do anything except make you smile or laugh, it builds that bond, it keeps that top of mind. Does that make sense? So send an amusing cartoon, send an article or clipping of interest, send something of interest to them. Don't just sell schmooze, or don't sell just schmooze. Okay, so design it right now. What's your third step? Step 4, a meal and further bonding. Again, a great, depending upon, and if you're B2C, I'll tell you, one of the most powerful things you can do is throw parties. Throw big parties. It just bonds you to the market. Same thing with B2B. Like I said, we threw great parties at all the trade shows. That's where you really bond. And again, I'm not going to teach that now because there is a fantastic module on how to throw a killer party. There's like a whole training module on it in GMK1. Huh? Out-of-town clients, well, it's going to be a little harder. You're not going to be able to have a meal with them. I'm just giving ideas. You have to develop your own. Good rapport, breakfast. Lunch, good rapport. Dinner, great rapport. Okay, you must ease into their life. Don't be too pushy. You must judge the appropriate invitation. Offer a bonus. I did some research about your industry and learned some interesting things. If we could get together for breakfast or lunch, I'll take you through some of it. So again, just trying to show you that more, you want the bonding process. So right now, develop your fourth on page 5. Let's write down what are some ideas for your fourth follow-up. right. Step 5, another fax, email, letter, card. Dear Mary, you made great lunch guest. And again, so now it's just showing you another follow-up. Now you can see why, again, as when I was a sales rep, if I got a client, it was like now, once after that first meeting and I got some top of mind share, I never let it go. So I never lost a client. I never had a competitor that could ever compete. I was intrigued by your thoughts on direct mail, so I've asked for some further research. I'll let you know when it comes in. Meanwhile, stay away from those anchovies. I'm just trying to say, try to make sure that they're short, pithy, interesting. So right now, what's your 5th follow-up going to be? All right, step 6, something fun, even better with the family, ideas, boating, tennis, play. Again, B2B, this is going to be more appropriate, but B2C, you can throw mass parties, comedy club, sporting event, club event, hot air ballooning. I've done all those things, by the way, every single one of them with clients all over the world. Your goal is to become part of their lives. Look for something exciting that you can do together. And again, my nature is to do these things, but if it's not part of your nature, that's why you need to build it in as a standardized thing within your company. But B2B, like I said, I've done every single one of those things. Taking clients to a play, had a picnic, hot air ballooning. I got funny stories for every one of them. Okay, so let's go to the worksheets and have you guys design step 6. All right, so standard 7th. Again, I'm just giving ideas. King of networking. Great companies are always finding ways to help their clients succeed. Can you hook 2 clients up to form a referral network? We had a recruiting service. It was a fantastic way of bonding. We had a free recruiting service where we placed people. And so if you were an advertising director and we were selling advertising to you and you knew that if you ever lost your job, we could probably help you find one, how well do you think we were favored? It was really powerful. Can you provide a suggestion, concept, or idea that help the client succeed? Again, that's just my whole place I like to come from. Help the client, help the client, help the client. Perhaps you can sell more products or services in the process. So here's some more suggestions. Another fax, email. Here's another joke. A head under glass here, and it's like, oh, professor, did I tell you I had another out-of-head experience last night? Okay, not that funny. Your client needs to hear from you until you are permanently bonded. Keep sending follow-up notes and jokes, even if you are best friends with your clients. Just keep that process going. More help to succeed. What else can you do? Can you take them to a seminar? Bring them to one of mine, please. Give a seminar at your location. Can you give some kind of a seminar? What is your 9th idea? Just jot down some quick ideas. Give them a training course. One of mine, please. Help them find a new personnel. Watch for trends in the market. So it's all about becoming friends. A valuable asset and trusted confidant and friend with your clients breeds remarkable customer loyalty. Customers will feel like they are engaging in a personal betrayal if they buy from a competitor. So that whole thing about the line and this and that, be friends. Then I can tell you when I sold advertising, that's how I kept the competitors from ever getting business. They felt like, it was a violation of the relationship. It gives you unequaled control over your market share. Gives you the inside track on everything your customer's thinking. So the better the relationship, again, the B2B, this is crucial. So put down some ideas for your 9th follow-up. Tenth, the ultimate, invite them to your home or you're invited to theirs. So again, not necessarily for B2C. Quotes from top producers. Every important client I have has dined at my house. Half the people at my wedding were my clients. From their fantasies to their hobbies to children's hobbies, I know everything about my top clients. It's another concept. Can't remember where I got it from. It's not mine, but I used to do it. It's make friends with everyone from the janitor to the salespeople. It's called surround the account. Stop and take a few minutes to get to know everyone you can. So in that whole process. Remember, everyone's first favorite person to talk about? Themselves. So, don't stand there and say, hi, I'm Chet Holmes. Nice to meet you. By the way, do you know anything about me? No. But enough about me talking about me. What do you think about me? Summary, bonding is everything. Your ultimate goal is that all your best clients become, have a relationship with you. They become friends. Become involved in their lives. Become involved in the success of their business. Make it your personal mission to help them succeed. That's going to separate you. Final message, follow up or be mediocre, because that's what you'll be. You'll be like everybody else if you don't have a fantastic, regularly structured follow-up.
This was a Chet Holmes International production.